Hello and welcome. I'm delighted to be chatting to one of my clients, Michelle Endersby. She's in Melbourne in Australia, which is fab, completely opposite side of the world to me. So I just wanted to let the viewers and listeners know what we're going to be talking about before I ask you to introduce yourself, Michelle, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Apart from saying hello. We're going to be talking about keeping in touch with your clients, the importance of that and the benefits, not only to the clients, but also to you as the business owner or self-employed person. And then at the end, we're also going to get Michelle's perspective on working with me, because I just find that that's probably much easier for people who might have looked at me and gone, I wonder what she actually does, or I wonder what it's like working with Julie. Well, you'll get Michelle's viewpoint, which is probably better than me saying, aren't I fabulous, come work with me. So hopefully that's okay with you, Michelle.
It is, it's great.
Excellent, excellent. So before we start and talk about keeping in touch, would you like to just introduce yourself, say who you are and what you do?
Yes, I'm a rose artist, so I paint roses, but I also write about roses, and I'm the Vice President of the Rose Society of Victoria. And I write a newsletter as well, which is Art, Gardens and Always Roses. And basically I'm just spreading a lot of happiness and joy to the world about roses. And so, yeah, that's what I do.
Absolutely. And you do. I can vouch for that. I love seeing your images and your photographs of roses, your paintings in the Stepping Into Success group. That's fab. It is lovely. It's very inspirational. So thank you for that.
That's my pleasure.
So how did you get into that? Before we sort of get into the meat here, how did you get into painting roses?
Well, that's an interesting story. I actually suffered a ruptured blood vessel on the brain, and I was in a coma on life support. And when I awoke from the coma, I had a vision of a light-filled rose garden.
Wow.
And I wandered it through in a little pathway in this vision I was having. And at the end of the garden, there was a little building that looked like a little art gallery, but there were no paintings in it. So I felt that I was being given a direct message that I must paint this beautiful vision that I'm seeing and share it with the world. And that's really what I woke up out of the coma feeling and saying. And I can actually still feel that feeling. And that spurs me on to paint the roses, but also to inspire people through this vision. And yeah, it was so lovely. So yes, when I got home from hospital and recovered, went through rehab, I started painting on circular canvases because that was about my return to wholeness. And within a couple of years, I was actually invited to exhibit my paintings in New York. And so here I was actually living my dream, sharing my vision with the world. It was lovely. And yeah, so that's the bit of background about why I must paint roses.
And that, Michelle, has to be the best startup story ever. It's so inspirational. That is so inspirational. And I do remember you saying when you had that exhibition in New York and how big a deal that was, because you were fairly new to this. Of course, you've obviously got a talent as well. That's fabulous.
Yes, no, I was very new, so it was certainly a different pathway from what I was doing, but it was so clear that that's what I must do, and it's been wonderful to follow that pathway.
And it's lovely to hear that someone is following their heart, is following what they feel they're meant to be doing, and getting lots of benefit from that. So you wanted to talk about keeping in touch. So tell me why that focus today. What's so important from your point of view?
What's important for me is, well, as you can hear, I'm so excited to share an inspirational message and encourage other people to follow their pathway. That's the story. And people don't have to go through a life-threatening emergency to actually do that. And lots of people who have come into contact with me have thought, yes, they must do this too, and follow their own version of a dream.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important for me. And I also think what's important for for everyone communicating in this modern age is to get positive messages, encouraging messages out there, because this is what creates our world. And the more positivity that we've got, it's this flow-on effect. And so I think we're all doing an important job, and especially you, Julie, because you are so encouraging and helpful and holistic in your approach, that I really find that that's what you're putting out into the world, this lovely positive encouragement. And that's what we need today, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's so wonderful hearing you say that about your messages as well. Obviously, that's what I'm trying to do, and that's, what I believe is needed. But it's lovely to talk to other business owners who feel the same and who are trying to get those positive messages out, because you're right, the world is full of such negative feedback, really, from lots of people and in lots of different ways. So, yes. And it's not all like that, if that's what we go searching for, that's what we get.
Yes.
If we go looking for the positives, there is so much out there. So thank you for that. But thank you for also spreading your piece of positivity and inspiration around the world. So what does keeping in touch with your clients and your potential clients, what does that mean to you? What do you actually do?
Yeah, my main focus is my monthly newsletter. I call it Art Gardens and Always Roses. And it's what inspires, it actually, because I know that every month I must write this, it gives me direction. I know that people, because I get such wonderful feedback when I send out my newsletter, people write back to me and we really engage. I know people love it, and so there's an expectation. I must find treats and lovely things to share with my audience, and that's what I do. And so I have this wonderful, inspiring life where I float around rose gardens and art galleries and do a bit of painting in there as well. And so I'm really leading this lifestyle because I know that I'm going to share it, and it's a wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. So this focus is my newsletter, and I usually have some little I have little competitions because I like people to engage. So I'll have people sending me photos of different things. This month it's all about roses on picket fences, and so I've had some lovely photos come in with which people have found lovely little cottages and different things. So it's very interactive, and it's a lot of fun, and a lot of joy involved.
So I can hear that you get a lot from that as well. The interesting thing for me was when you first started was I must do this monthly. So where does that must come from? Because it's not a must, is it? It's become a must. It didn't start off as a must. So I'm interested in where that's come from.
Yeah, well, that is because people love it, and it would be awful for me to stop people getting this bit of enjoyment. Some people say to me, this is their virtual garden. This is the brightest thing that comes into their inbox, and so I can't let these people down, and I don't want to either. And it's just the momentum of it as well. So I think I've done probably every month for 60 months now. I've sent this out, so it's
great consistency.
And it's kept me going when I could have just not painted for a whole couple of months, or not written something, or I could have just stopped doing everything, and it's been so motivational for me. And I think it is lovely to have some structure in our life.
And it's interesting that you say that you get as much from this. So maybe when you started, it may have, I'm just thinking of other people who kind of go, I don't know, writing a newsletter is a bit of a chore. But actually it's a way of you getting information out there, but also, as you say, engaging with people. And then when you get that feedback, that's keeping you going and is giving you some kind of structure and is helping with your consistency, which is fab.
Exactly. And really, it is a real, it's like nourishment to me, because I get so much inspirational, I get material from my people. You know, people send me a lovely photo of something. It'll be to do with roses, but it'll be unrelated to what I've actually sent out, or something else. And, you know, they give me tips and off I go, and it's fabulous. So, absolutely. Yes, it's a source of nourishment for me.
So I can see that it is for you, because, as you say, that's helping you live a more joyful and creative life and have that structure where actually you need things to be putting in your newsletter. So that becomes your focus for the following month, is what kinds of things. So that's a much more joyful and easy way of thinking about work, I think, and productivity.
It is. It's been a real surprise, but yeah, it certainly it pulls me along, and yeah, no, it's great. Once you get sort of caught up in it, and it is exciting. And yeah, I can't believe when I get to the end of the month that I've got all these exciting things put in it. You know, where did all that come from?
And apart from having engagement from people who read the newsletter, have you had any opportunities or clients as a result of that?
Yes, certainly. With the sales of my paintings, in most cases it's people I know and people I've got a connection with. They're buying more than just a piece of art, they're buying a piece of me. And that's certainly that is the case. And yeah, so that, and other opportunities such as exhibitions and displays, different things. So yeah, certainly lots of things that I wouldn't expect, and some other trips and things that I've done as well. And yeah, lots of exciting things popping up.
And it's interesting that you say people are buying a piece of you, and I think that's what happens, that people feel like they know you even if they haven't met in person. I mean, we've had that same kind of relationship, haven't we? Because we haven't actually met in person.
That's right.
We feel like we know each other. We have been in contact now for a while, but yeah, it's lovely because you do feel like you know the person that's sending the information out. And you're right, I think that's what people buy, especially for small businesses and self-employed people like ourselves. They're buying the person. They're buying a piece of you. It's you tied up with all that inspirational stuff that's important.
That's right. Yeah, it's all about stories, and especially that's where roses are so lovely, because there's all the stories behind roses as well. And yeah, I couldn't have come across a better subject matter, because it's just so rich in terms of imagery and history, and it's really beautiful. So not a bad thing to sort of get caught up in.
Absolutely joyful. Is there anything else you want to say about keeping in touch or about your newsletter that we haven't sort of touched on?
With the signing, I think it's important these days for most people. Well, I'm happy to have had a website, and that's where my sign-up form is. But I guess if people have just got a Facebook page, they can have their sign-up forms on that as well. But I think that's an important component for people. And also I go out and I do quite a lot of talks these days, and that's another opportunity for people to sign up to the list. Yeah. But I think that's, yes, you need to be, people need to know how to keep in touch with you.
That's a really good point, is that we can be putting out all of this wonderful stuff, but if not enough people know or nobody knows about it, then you're not going to grow your list and grow those people who are kind of connected to you. So yeah, absolutely. Website, talks, that's something that I've used a lot in the past as well, and tasters, and it's a nice way of bringing people into your world that's not particularly onerous for them.
Yes, well, I think that was the way that I came across you. I think it was Twitter, and I signed up to your list, and then you sent out that first initial exercise, which was about imagining yourself out on stage and all of that. And that was a real eye-opener for me because, well, I love the metaphor of dance because dance has been a part of my background as well. When I was 16, I started tap dancing. I did that for about 10 years. And then later on, it was ballroom dancing and, yes, New Vogue and Latin and all that. And actually met my husband at ballroom dancing classes. So when you give me this example of dance, it meant so much to me. But it was such a profound exercise. I couldn't believe the emotions and different things that brought up. It was brilliant, and it really was so clever, and that connected me with you straight away. And so I was really interested in what you were doing, but I didn't know if any of it was relevant to me. But in your email communications, you'd often say, drop me a line and say, you'd give us a little thing. And so it was lovely because I could feel your warmth coming through the internet. And so I could respond to you, and then you wrote back to me, and that was how I learnt, what you did, and you were always so helpful and nice like that. And then I could do your course, which is the decision-making course, which was fantastic as well. So
good.
sorry if I...
Okay, so no, that's okay, because I wanted to come on to that anyway. It's kind of where you were before we sort of connected, and what was it about working with me that sort of appealed. So you've kind of started on that route, which is great. So what would you say to anyone who's thinking of working with me, or who's wondering what exactly I can bring to them or help them with?
Yeah, well, certainly, I mean, I know you've got a few little courses, but the decision-making one was, for anyone who's I was a bit overwhelmed. I had a bit too much going on, and it wasn't clear with where I was going. So I needed a bit of direction. And so this is where your course, it was so perfect. And I just love the way that you work, and it's very creative, your materials that you have. And it's about words and feelings, and it's fantastic. And there's little surprises and little insights that you get just because you present it so differently. It does something with your brain or something, in that the way you think and the way you see things.
Yeah.
And so, yes, certainly. So I'd say the decision making, or if you're a bit stuck, then certainly it would help someone so much to do the course. And it was very easy. It's broken down into little steps, and so it's not an arduous big course or anything. It's just sort of step by step. And so certainly that's the sort of thing, well, that's my direct experience of that course.
Yeah.
But you've also got a course which you said at one point might be helpful for me, which you've got an overwhelm course, haven't you, as well?
Yes. Yeah, get out of overwhelm. It's the first aid kit, I think I call it. So yeah, overwhelm first aid kit. So that's when you're completely overwhelmed and you just kind of, that's an immediate thing. The decision making, I think, is more for people who are wondering about a direction or kind of the next step for them. Whereas, as I say, the overwhelm course is literally like, how do I get out of this right now and just stop feeling as overwhelmed? So it's sort of a progression, I guess. So
yes.
what would you say are the main things that you've learned then from working with me?
Well, just the way that you set your goals, I thought that was fantastic, your soul goals. And that it just sort of brought in I mean, of course, the business senses, people set goals and things, but yours, it's got this whole extra layer, which turns it around completely and makes it so more meaningful and so much more inspirational. And in my notes, I've got all these things where I've highlighted words, and it's all, it's, I don't know, it's a very creative way to do things, which really appealed to me. But you made it much more heart-centered, I think, is how I might describe it. And it just makes it, well, really inspiring, whereas goals can be a bit flat and a bit, a bit dull. But
it's lovely to hear you say that, because yes, I do feel like, well, number one, I feel like learning needs to be fun. So we need to look at things differently, and if I can help people think about things differently and kind of move them out of their usual way of thinking, then that's really good, because then we're opening ourselves up to something different. So that's really nice to hear. I can't remember actually whether that's in the decision making course or whether that's in my book.
It could be in both, I think.
Yeah,
I think I might.
Really matter. Yeah.
But the other beautiful thing that you get us to do is to imagine our ideal life and things like that. And I think that whole visualization is really special. And that's brilliant. I just love that whole exercise. I was just enjoying that so much.
Oh, that's good. Although it does sound like you're a very visual person. I mean, obviously, when you talked about setting up your business, that was part of that was this vision that you had when you were in your coma. So, that's I absolutely love that story.
Well, I really think we need to see things, and before we can work out how to get to them.
Yeah.
But you help us to dream about something which is bigger than. Otherwise, we could be if we were just setting normal goals and just trying to work out a direction, I don't think we would do ourselves justice. We wouldn't dream big enough. So that's what I really loved about yours. You made us think so much bigger, and so in a much more beautiful way.
Good. Well, that's really nice to hear, and hopefully that will help some people who are kind of, what does she do and what might I get from that? So thank you so much for this chat, Michelle. You see, I'm still learning things about you, even though we've been connected for a little while now. I'm still learning that how you set up the business. I think I had a part of that story, but not the whole story. So that was lovely. And I love the keeping in touch, and that consistent and joyful approach has helped you be more creative and productive, which is fab.
Yes.
One last thing, I guess, before we go. If people do want to connect and are interested in you, your work, and maybe want to get on your newsletter, where do they need to go?
Yes, well, my website, it's michellendersbyart.com. So that's MICHELLENDERSBY art.com.
Excellent. And it's obvious when they're on the site, they can just sign up on that. Is it on the homepage?
Yes, it's on the first. Well, it's on. I think it's on probably on every page, but yeah, it's down the bottom right. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your engagement in the group and your continued engagement, because you're right. It's, as somebody who works by themselves, it is lovely to get some feedback, to get some interaction with people, regardless of whether they're clients or not, to be perfectly honest. It's just nice to know that people are interested and that you're helping them in some way. And I get that from you. So that's really lovely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, well, we didn't talk about your Stepping into Success, your Facebook group. And I think that's really special as well. And I think it's really very inspiring, and it's just lovely to know that you're there. I look forward to getting your message each day and seeing what you're up to, what your thoughts are, but also your success challenges that you give us. They've been a real treat for me to do those, because I've had some really unexpected insights and surprises and developments. And so, no, that's fantastic. So I think and also that's a way for us to learn a bit more about what you do, because you also have your little group, your get it moving group, or what? Your session. Just do it sessions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't had a chance to experience one of those, but that's another one that you offer. That sounds good, and that certainly that relates to that decision making and being stuck, etc. Because that's often the thing, isn't it? Just to jump in at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh, thank you for that. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'll stick, maybe put the link to the group in the comments along with your link to your website. So if people are interested, they can go to one or both. That's lovely.
Yes.
So thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
No, I think because I'm in a number of different groups, but your group is the most fun, and
oh, that's lovely to hear.
It is, and it's got the most where you're doing it certainly is interactive, but you're giving us you're so generous with what you give us in that group, and it's really helpful, but also it keeps us in contact with you, and certainly I hope if you've got more courses and things that you bring, you'll let us know what they are, and so that we can jump on board.
Absolutely. Lovely. Thank you very much for that, Michelle.